So my OBS says I'm live. Am I? I can't tell. There's a buffer, I know. Starting off with offering you a smudge on Friday the 13th. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. Just had some, musings going on in my brain that I thought I'd hook up and talk to you about today. First of all, it's Friday the 13th. And, a lot of people look at that with great fear and trepidation that everything bad is going to happen on Friday the 13th and black cats and, don't walk under a ladder and all that superstitious crap. So let me start by saying something you will hear me say so many times in many, many different videos. And that is the two things that I'm allergic to. If you've watched a bunch of my videos already, all together in 4-part harmony: superstition and dogma. All right? Dogma is the unquestionable, things that are not allowed to be questioned. Dogma is just do it the way we say to do it this way because we've always done it this way, don't ask questions. That's dogma. Okay? Dogma says you must do it this way, period, and don't ask why. Superstition says because if you don't, something bad will happen. All right? Dogma is kind of an external thing, that the truth is something that is external and we will tell you what it is. And you must accept that without question. Superstition is kind of an internal thing. If I take this action, with no causal relationship to this thing, if I take this action, this unrelated thing will happen. It's step on a crack, break your mother's back is a superstition. Okay, little rhyming thing. And so it presupposes this relationship that doesn't in fact exist and says that it's a negative relationship. Do this and this bad thing will happen. Superstition hands over your power. Both of these things are a means of control. Okay? Dogma says don't question. Superstition says, gives you a reason why. It brings fear into it. So both of these things are fear-based. Actually, dogma is ignorance-based. And shame-based, because it's like you're shameful if you question. And particularly, dogma comes into religion. We usually associate dogma and religion with each other. But if you hear things, dogma associated with religion in terms of here's what we do in our religion, and you are not to question it. And shame on you if you do. You're a bad person if you do, because this is the word of God. How dare you question, Superstition is fear-based. And both fear and shame are systems of control. So why is Friday the 13th in particular something that so much shame and fear has been? Hold up. Hold up. There we go. I'm looking to see, if I'm actually live. At any rate, why is Friday the 13th in particular overlaid with so much fear and so much superstition? Well, it's because of the feminine. It's because of its connotation and association with the feminine. Friday is named after the goddess Freya in Norse mythology, who corresponds to the goddess Venus, the Roman goddess Venus. Greek is Aphrodite. But even the name, Friday reflects Freya's name. And I'm going to read this real quick. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. One of my very favorite books, Barbara G. Walker's The Woman's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets. And gosh, I'm just noticing now I have not contact papered this, and who do I need to before it just totally falls apart. Big fat book. All right, this book is a revelation. It will piss you off multiple times in so many ways. It will piss you off because it's stuff that isn't in general knowledge. It's the feminine side of history. It's herstory. It's the negative. It's the stuff that's been hidden in the shadows. All right, the patriarchal roots that are arcane now, hidden in shadow. And I want to go to the little entry on Friday here, and it's short, so I'm going to read it. Day of the goddess Freya, called unlucky by Christian monks because everything associated with female divinity was so called. Friday the 13th was said to be especially unlucky because it combined the goddess's sacred day with her sacred number drawn from the 13 months of the pagan lunar year, or the menstrual calendar. There are actually 13 full moons in a year. Romans named the day Dies Veneris after Venus, their own version of the same goddess. In modern French, Friday is still Vendredi, V-E-N, and in Italian, Venerdì. Friday used to be the 7th day of the week. It was the Sabbath of the Jewish lunar calendar and is still the Sabbath of Islam. Scandinavian pagans, Hindus, and rural Scots insisted that Friday was the most propitious day for a marriage because it was the day that favored fertility. Fish were eaten on Friday as fertility charms in honor of Venus or Freya, whose totems they were. Fish are still considered aphrodisiac food because they were sacred to Aphrodite. Thus, the Catholic Church never acknowledged the debt. Thus, the Catholic habit of eating fish on Friday was wholly pagan in origin, but the Catholic Church never acknowledged the debt. In the Middle Ages, when pagan votaries of Freya continued to celebrate her rites on Friday, churchmen designated her day as the day of devil worship. So yeah, let's start with the fact that nearly all Christian symbology and holidays were pagan derived. Scratch the surface of any Christian holiday or saint, for that matter, and underneath a very thin veneer, you will find a pagan foundation. When Christianity took over, they found out something very quickly, and that was that the simple folk, the heathens and the pagans, pagan meaning people that lived out in the country, and heathen meaning that lived out in the heath, so the simple folk away from cities. They found out that the simple folk were not going to let go of their goddess because she was nature. She ruled the agricultural year and the planting of the crops, and they went to the mother. And how natural is it when you need something to go to your mother? That's paganism, is organic religion. And so the pagans were not willing to give up their goddess, so the church just kind of assimilated it in. And Mary came into prominence and took over many of the names that were names of the goddess, like Star of the Sea and Queen of Heaven, Mother of God. All of those were names for pagan goddesses, titles for her. So Christianity took these things over and then very quickly demonized them. They couldn't demonize Mary. They had to let her be holy, but they stopped short of calling her a deity. She gave birth to God, and she's to be revered, but not worshipped. They draw a line there, a very thin line. So they stopped short of calling her evil, but what they did was rob her of sexuality, which is the thing that they truly focused on as being evil. Okay? She was revered as a virgin, she's revered as a mother, and so those two things, those two parts of femininity are lifted up and honored with no way to get from one to the other except a grievous evil sin. And St. Paul, if I read you the entry in here on St. Paul, he's to blame for a whole lot of this misogyny. So Friday was considered, was sacred to the goddess, so of course it had to be considered evil and a day of devil worship. And the number 13, because of the 13 moons in a year. There is a deeper correspondence and mystery that goes with the number 13, and I think In the context of this live stream, I will keep that secret. But the number 13 is associated with the female. So, of course, it became associated with evil and bad luck. And if you look at language, you can see how, I mean, we are steeped, our entire culture globally is steeped in misogyny. And it's ingrained in our brains when we're learning language, you know, and words that have roots in Latin and Greek. Let's look at the word sinister. Sinister means left-handed. Dexter means right-handed, okay? Sinister, the right side is associated with the solar, with the masculine, the active, the conscious, okay? The left side is associated with the feminine, the lunar, the goddess, the unconscious. So left and right, and the word sinister means left-handed. So, and of course, what does that word denote? It denotes underhanded doings. It denotes negativity. It denotes shady, evil things. And that is associated with the feminine. Now let's look at the word testimony. Okay, when you give testimony, what you are doing is stating the truth. It's a testament to. When you say, I testify, I make a testament to, it is true, some true statement that you're making. Well, what word is that associated with? Testicles. Okay? Now, let's look at the Greek word. I believe that's Greek, testicle. Let's look at the word associated with the Greek word for the womb, which is hyster. Root of the word hysterical, hysteria. So to testify is to stand up and be clear-minded and truth-speaking. To be hysterical is kind of the opposite. And that is the Greek word for the womb. So if you go digging, and you know, let's stretch that on with the left-handedness, that left-handed people were considered evil. They were looked on by old Christianity the same way as gay people or non-binary, non-gender binary people are looked at by the current radical Christianity, and that is that they're abnormal, which means that they're evil, that normality and conformity is positive, and anything that veers from the norm is evil and awful and associated with the feminine most of the time, you know. So it's so hard talking about these things, but I think it's, you know, if you're into the craft at all, and if you're connected to the feminine divine, it's so important to be aware of these things. And just as human beings, we're going through an awakening. We're going through a profound, deep shift, deep change, painful, deep change. And it's really important to bring into conscious awareness where we've come from so that we can forge the way ahead with eyes open and with a plan to remedy the things that are wrong. So we have to root these things out. It's like rooting out racist language that is part of the norm that has been, you know, so I was raised in a racist family with racist language, and the culture was even more overtly racist then. And I am constantly on the watch for, you know, things that, you know, a phrase like, oh, you know, this cotton picking something. Oh, you think, oh, wait, no, that's racist. That is racist. So, you know, ferreting these things out, you know, no disparagement to ferrets. That's not ferretist. Is really important to do as we move ahead, looking for the ways that our language takes us in the wrong direction. And again, bringing everything into consciousness. So I will also tell you that when back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I started doing women's circles, And I will tell you also that I was trained and initiated by Gardnerians into Gardnerian Wicca, which is a very gender balanced practice. Um, Slight prominence to the importance of the goddess, but still, it's still gender balanced. And the ideal Gardnerian circle is balanced between men and women. You stand in circle and it's male, female, male, female. You know, it's very balanced in that way. And I think that's a wonderful thing. However, I found, at least with the people, and not all the people, I'll say one person in particular that I learned from, were pretty dogmatic about things. And okay, you're disclaimer and apology in advance here. You're going to hear me equivocating a lot because there's so much both and. It's this way, I perceived it this way, and it's also this, you know, so this is where we get into the complexity of religion and spiritual belief systems. And if being allergic to dogma, I'm not going to say this is absolutely this way. You know, nothing is absolute. Very few things are absolute. Nothing is absolute in religion, really. It's all perception. It's all interpretation. So there was a lot of there was a lot of stuff that I perceived as dogmatic. And when you are first learning the craft and you're learning about magic, when you're a baby witch, and if I'm teaching people now, I will say, here's some hard and fast rules to follow. And when you're being initiated by a coven, when someone initiates or performs an initiation ceremony, because there's only one initiator, they become karmically responsible for the person that they're teaching or initiating. In fact, you know, when someone dedicates under a teacher, that teacher becomes karmically responsible for that person's actions for, you know, a year and a day, or until they're initiated, or a year and a day after initiation, whatever their system is. But you're handing people sharp tools. And if you don't teach them safety rules, they're going to cut themselves. And it would be horribly irresponsible to take someone who's never used a sharp knife before and just hand them that sharp knife and say, have at it. You're going to say, this is incredibly sharp. Here's how to go about this. Here's how to keep yourself from getting cut. You know, you're going to give them some safety precautions. And a lot of the things that possibly turn into dogma down the road start off as very valid and necessary safety precautions. So, and it's kind of the thing where as you're learning magic in the beginning, follow the fucking rules. This goes with any system that you're learning, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's a skill, whatever it is, any system that you're learning, it's really helpful in the beginning to just follow the rules. Learn the system, within its own context, like I was talking about on the Daughters of the Moon video. Learn the system within its context, and then when you have mastered those basics, you will know, here's where I can bend the rules. Here's where I can break them to my purpose. All right? And by then, you know enough to be self-responsible for the thing that you've learned. So, hard and fast rules are important in the beginning until you're to the point where you know, here's how to bend and break those rules. But some of the things I saw were just really rankly superstitious. And I think that's the part that got me more than dogma, is just some superstition that, to me, there were a couple statements made that just clearly sounded silly. Now, I will also say that I made some statements in the beginning, and I would make a statement and see the look of horror on particularly one woman who I call my granny witch. She was, Nimue was her name, and she was amazing, and she was a beautiful, kind, learned, wise, tender, powerful woman. And she had a profound impact on me, and still does. And I really consider more my teaching witch than the actual priestess of the coven. But anyway, I remember sitting in her house one time and I was making my first ritual gown. And it was this white, like bed sheet. I mean, it was huge. It was white. It had long sleeves that were gathered up here and had these big wings that draped down. And it earned me the name the White Witch of Manaway Street. But I was at her house and I was sewing this gown. And we're talking, we're talking about the craft and talking about stuff. And I said, I just don't think it's possible. My understanding of magic is it works on me. When I do magic, it's my brain that's producing it. It's my brain I'm changing, works on me. And I made this statement of, I just don't think it's possible to affect somebody else with magic. It's just, and I remember the look of horror on her face. I don't think she actually had her hand over her mouth, but she may have. And then I learned. And I learned some hard lessons. And I can tell you it absolutely is possible to affect someone else's energy. Now, I'll qualify that with much more possible to affect their energy if you have a claim to that person, if you have a relationship with that person, if you're bumping auras with that person all the time, if you have a blood tie with that person, if you have an emotional bond with that person. To affect someone that you're not connected to in any way and that you can claim no connection to or no valid reason to affect, you're not going to really have an effect there. It's going to hit you. So, and any magic you do is going to hit you first. If you're doing the magic, it's going to hit you first. So there's the big gateway that you have to go through. So at any rate, I think I've sidetracked myself sufficiently that I don't remember the point that I was starting with here. But I was initiated into a gardening. Okay, that was it. And it was pretty gender balanced. When I started doing ritual on my own, it very quickly became my own feminist expression. And I confused the shit out of the early coven that I belonged to. We were learning. We had all dedicated, I think. I think it was past dedication. Might have been past initiation. I don't remember. But the baby coven that kind of started out of the coven that initiated me was doing the thing where we passed around, you pass the wand each month. The ritual is at somebody else's house. And we'd been doing very standard Gardnerian practice. Now, I will preface this with, I was in my 30s at the time, in my early 30s when I was initiated. I had been introduced to the craft at 18. And it was Church and School of Wicca, Gavin and Yvonne Frost tradition. So, and I was in for a very short time, long enough to go, ooh, this is home. Yes, I'm a witch, I'm a pagan, and recognize that. And then I took a hard right turn and became a Catholic. But anyway, the other people that were coming in on this level were much younger than me. So I already had my Saturn return under my belt. I already was an artist and a creative person. And so when you gave me the context of craft and the basic tools of it, I immediately used it as a creative tool and started creating my own rituals. So when the wand came to me and it was my turn, and the standard Gardnerian, like for example, invoking the quarters, hail to the watchtowers of the powers of the east, the powers of air, blah blah blah, coming, and it was standard language for each quarter. You would only change the direction and the element. I wanted to get much more creative about it. When I did my first ritual by myself, I spent the entire day going around my house and gathering everything that meant air to me, everything that meant fire, and setting those altars. So it was already a wholly creative process. And so when they came to my house, I had worked on it, and I thought, rather than standing up and just saying words, we're going to invoke the elements through the senses. The sense of smell is the air. The sense of sight is fire, because you need light to see and you need air to smell. Taste is water. Try to taste something if your tongue is completely dry. You can't do it. And touch is earth. Spirit is sound. So we sat in the circle rather than standing and facing the quarters. We sat in the circle and we passed things around. And for air, we passed around the censer. to smell, and we're passing it around, and I had something written, about the air, and it was very poetic, and thus through the sense of air the sense of smell, we invoke the air by our breath and all this kind of stuff. And then we passed a candle, and then we passed a dish of salt water and a dish of honey for the taste, the sharp and the sweet. And then for earth, I had this rabbit skin pouch, and I put all kinds of things in it, like a smooth stone and what the hell's it called? A pine cone, prickly, sticky pine cone, a feather, things that were soft and hard and sharp and smooth and fuzzy, and all this stuff. So through the sense of touch, we invoked earth. And then for the invocation of the gods, I recited or read from Shakespeare, from Hamlet, "What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how, express and admirable." That's it. "In action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god." Because the gods live in us, right? So I was doing this, and it's like, wow, it resonated so much for me. And I remember looking around the circle, and they were so confused. They were so confused and terribly dismayed. And, I feel kind of sheepish about it now, because I don't think I warned anybody. And I've done that more than once. But, to me, ritual is creative. It's a personal expression. The gods live in me. I'm going to let themselves express through me. Let them show themselves through me. And to me, that means non-dogmatic, and it also means leaving big holes in rituals for the magic to get through, and for the gods to show up in the way that they want to manifest, and all that kind of stuff. So going on from there, and I mean, even those early circles, that coven was all women. And then as I went on in the early 90s, I was initiated in, I believe, 1988. And as I went on from that, in the early 90s, I started doing actual Dianic ritual. And I started a temple which was incorporated in my state. And somebody at the state level decided to pull a fast one and not send us forms that needed to be filed by a certain time. And the next thing I got was, "Oh, you're no longer an entity because you didn't fill out these forms." And the lawyer that was our legal entity had never received those forms. So somebody decided to discorporate us on their own. And I'm fine with that. I decided organized religion was not the way I wanted to go. I didn't want to be a church. And this was after I experienced what that means, to put yourself in that position of priestess, and people see you in a wholly different light. They don't see me anymore. They see this, whatever they want to project onto me, this image, and it gets rough. You become a target. And boy, did I. I became a target very quickly, and I had expected to. But truthfully, who I became, the people that were targeting me were not what I expected. I thought the Christians would be beating my door down. But it was the pagans. I took a lot of shit from men in particular. One man who followed was an Odinist, and said that I was an unethical person because I was staying home to raise my daughter after being abandoned by her father and my husband. And, because my support was enough to take care of us and I wasn't working, I was considered an unethical person because I didn't have a job. But at the same time, I was priestessing, I was doing readings, I was sewing and selling things. So I did have a job. It was just my own little business. And, but this guy he was set to take me down. And just, people, the coven that initiated me, some people of that coven smack talking me. And, because I took donations from people to be a member of the temple to support, the mailings and all the things that I did. I was unethical to them because you never take money for a ritual. And one of those shots came at a lecture, a Raymond Buckland lecture that I was at. And this person asked a question, is it ever okay to take money for ritual? And his answer was, oh, absolutely not. For teaching the craft, you never, 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 never take money for teaching the craft, as everybody in that audience was sitting there with one of his books that they had purchased teaching the craft. So hypocrisy, I guess, is another thing I'm kind of allergic to. Anyway, and I didn't realize the person that asked that question was taking a shot at me at the time, but somebody afterwards said, ooh, you know, they really aimed at you. And it's like, oh, really? Wow, they were having a moment and I missed it. Darn, sorry. So, you know, when you do things your own way and you step outside of dogma, people take great umbrage at that. So anyway, all right, I'm going to move on from that. And well, I was talking about my circles becoming Dianic and women focused. And truthfully, I'm a woman. My experience in this lifetime is in a female body. That's what I know. And I am here to bring the goddess into this world however I can, through me, whoever I touch, whoever, I can show an example to. All of you guys, all of my subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. I hope things resonate with you. But, you definitely plant a big fat target on your ass. And I'm at the point now at 61, I have no more fucks to give. Have at me. Come at me, bro. Or even sis, whoever. And the thing is, if this doesn't resonate with you, if you think it's wrong, off you go. Off you go. On your way. On your bike. It's not my problem. I did the university that I live near, like every year new students discover witchcraft and they come hunting for a priestess. And I had some students do like a 9-minute little mini documentary on me once, and they did a wonderful job. They were amazing. And one of the questions they asked me is, what do you say to people that say, what you're doing is horrible and evil and of the devil, or that it's bullshit, or, anything like that, that it's not real, that magic is delusional? What do you say to these people? And earlier on, my answer to that would have probably been a half-hour diatribe on trying to teach them the craft and trying to convince them. And I'll tell you, by this point, and in that documentary, which was like 5 or 6 years ago, my answer is, it's not my job to convince them. They have their path and I have mine. So if you don't dig this and you think I'm crazy or evil or just wrong-headed about the craft, on your way. No harm. No harm done. You do your path, I'll do mine. Yours belongs to you, mine belongs to me. So there you go. So, on to another here. The Daughters of the Moon video that just dropped today on Friday the 13th. What a great timing that was. I realized in that video that I didn't show you the writing in the book. And so I am going to do a card here. And just for this Friday the 13th. So let's wake the deck up. And this is one of the things about this deck, it's difficult to handle. So usually what I do, because they're round and they're going to turn anyway, there's no really keeping them upside down, or so you can just mess them around. You know what, let's just do that. Barbara, you go back there. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way, and let's just kind of mess these around and do this. What I'm asking for here, okay, gotta let my breath out. I am focusing, and I'm asking for a message for all of those watching this video. Asking for a message, and this just kind of came out. A message for Friday the 13th, and we have the Crone of Flames, Sagittarius. On December the 13th. I love magic. I love being heard. I can tell when I've hooked in. If I, when I started messing those cards around, I was all up in my head and I said, I need to release my breath. I came down into my body and went into that place of trust. Something interesting is going to happen here. Show me, show me. And the card for Sagittarius comes out. So, Caradwyn, crone of flames. She is the goddess of the cauldron of death and rebirth. What happens in a cauldron? Things transform. Things get cooked and come out in a different form. Okay, so let's find her page. Flames. She's flames. Okay. Yeah, we go. And I turned right to the page. I'm so glad you're along on this ride. And here's what I talk about, leaving a hole for the magic to get through. I initially had just opened the book to the page that was the, I think it's the equivalent of the judgment card. And it was really cool. And I thought, oh, I'll just read that. You know, I'll just have that picked out in advance because it's scary to fly by the seat of your pants. And it's scary to leave things to chance. But that's when the magic gets through, when you let loose of your chokehold on the way that you want things to be, on your desire. That's your ego operating. I want, I need, okay? When you step out of that and say, I trust, I believe, and then you open the door, you set up the context, and you invite, and magic happens. And things happen that you couldn't set up that are so far beyond coincidence, it ain't even funny. So crone of flames, Sagittarius. She is it says Queen/King of Wands. That's the first time I've seen like equivocating about gender in this deck. Okay. Ceridwen, powerful crone of the Welsh culture, is also known as the White Sow. Many crones are associated with sows. And the cauldron she stirs contains the sea of souls. This goddess is known as the shapeshifter, and we portray her with her favorite creatures, the hawk, greyhound, otter, and hen. We had 2 hawks in our woods this morning. They're not there every day. I'd say they show up, once a month, maybe. We had 2 at the same time. One that I could only see in silhouette, and it looked like a smaller hawk to me. It looked like it might have been a Cooper's. But the other one that flew in, and my son saw it fly in, and then I saw it fly again, was a gigantic red tail. I mean, fucking huge red tail. And when hawks come in, it is spirit saying, we're here, we're listening, pay attention. So 2 hawks came in the woods this morning, and then a pileated showed up, and we don't see them ever either. So yes, hawks. So Ceridwen's bird came in. All the crones in the tarot know the secrets. They are the authorities, the prophetic ones. This crone of flames holds the wisdom and secrets of fire, or energy in all its forms. Ceridwen stirs her cauldron of transformation. She teaches the lessons of what causes fire to run wild and uncontrollable, and what makes it fizzle and go out. So what she is about, it's about managing the flame. It's about controlling the flame, being the master of. She is generous, magnetic, and impassioned. She uses her power positively by sharing her secrets. Boy, is this hitting me square in the bullseye. This goddess is fair-minded, trustworthy, and honest with herself and others, a good example for all of us. As keeper of the cauldron, she knows all beings for who they really are. If she appears in your reading, it shows that you are becoming wise in the use of your energy and your fire. I'm a fire sign, by the way. There is security in your changes and acknowledgement of your croneness, which gives you the freedom to be yourself with ease. Remember I just said about I have 0 fucks left to give? That's what that sentence just said. There's security in your changes and acknowledgement of your croneness, which gives you the freedom to be yourself with ease. Fuck yes. If this card is tilted or reversed, I don't remember what it was when I picked it up. You might be misusing your power or wasting energy. Do you lack energy? Do you need to learn to use it wisely? It would be helpful to consult a fiery crone woman for the answers to these and other questions. So, thank you, Ceridwen, for showing up. By the way, I do own a huge cauldron. It's downstairs. It's a big black hulking iron thing that weighs like 50 pounds or something, and we do use it frequently. It is cracked. It was gifted to me by someone who was in that baby coven, way back when. And it had a big crack in it, and we sealed that crack, I think, with caulking. So it can't be used, as a cauldron for cooking or anything like that. Plus, where the hell am I going to put it? But we use it. We put candles in it. I've used it in so many rituals, so many rituals. In my croning ritual, which was a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I used it to wash makeup off my face at a particular point in the ritual. So, wow. Thanks, Daughters of the Moon. Now let's see. I think I might have talked about everything I wanted to talk about here, so I might be signing off sometime. If you have any questions or comments or anything, I see there's like 4 of you watching, and how cool is that? And wow, okay. I'm also learning stuff about my OBS here, because when I went live, it gave me the option to create a new event, but instead I just edited the last live stream, which I think was about meditation. So I'm looking down in the description, and all of the links and things that I put in there for meditation resources for the last live stream are still there. I'm learning, I'm figuring it out as I go along here. But I gotta say, I am just really enjoying myself. It's blowing me away every day that I get on here and see that more of you have subscribed and more of you have put your hand up to say, I like what you're doing. That kind of validation is priceless to me, because I grew up in a very codependent household, and I have a lot of trauma around just my identity and shame, that I was so shamed for being who I am, and how I think and what I do and everything else. It was my home was very shame based. My self-esteem is kind of bottomless. I have very, very, very low self-esteem. I have my sun in my 9th house squares Neptune in my 12th house. Neptune, the dissolver, sun, which is self-esteem, which is self-worth, self-expression. And when you square it with Neptune, the dissolver, it says that my self-worth just kind of disappears and dissolves. It says that I have a terrible inferiority complex. And I do. Now, I also have 61 years of experience behind me with what I can do and what I do well. And I do those things with great confidence. But when I'm putting myself out in a new way like this, it's hard. And the old ghosts rear their heads on a daily basis. So when, for instance, I looked between today and yesterday, and there was like 7 new subscribers, and it's just so exciting. And I will tell you that I'm looking for milestones here. I'm looking for subscribership milestones, and I think when I hit 300, I'll do something special. Maybe I'll do a live reading for somebody. I think that's probably a really good idea. A couple weeks ago, I did not a live reading, but I did a reading with someone, and I recorded it on Skype and intended to upload that entire video. It was an astrological reading, just so you could see the chart and, fuzz out the person's face and data and stuff. And Skype fucked me over. Skype showed nothing but our 2 faces. It didn't, while I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing the chart and I'm screen sharing, and Skype was having none of it and just went rogue and did its own fucking thing. So I can't upload that video. So I am still looking to do a reading for someone and either live stream it with just, your YouTube handle, so no personal identifying information, or, and I don't think I can do this on YouTube. And I haven't really activated my Instagram and Twitter and that kind of stuff. I'm dealing with one platform at a time. And my daughter is the one that's helping me to coordinate the other social media and come up with a plan. I'm very happy for this nice, easy, slow, organic growth on this channel. And I'm going to be uploading content like mad. Partially because I enjoy it so much. I feel like this is finally what I'm here to do. And let me say, so my son in the 9th house, 9th house is mass communication. Okay. 9th house is religion. 9th house is philosophy. Ninth house is exploration into those things. Okay, so my self-expression in my chart is through philosophy and religion and spirituality and ideas and sharing them through the mass media. All right, that's fulfillment of my natal chart. I will tell you that my sun is also conjunct Uranus, which is individuality and rebelliousness and weirdness. So it says that I'm not going to do anything, that without that Uranus sitting there, I could have been into conventional religion. With that Uranus sitting there, sorry. I'm even going to bust the norms of the unconventional religion that I feel at home in. So, a lot of that is stuff that I just have to deal with. I know I'm a rebel. I know that I do things like that, whether the system needs to be rebelled against or not. I just do it because it's how I'm made. So thank you for subscribing. Do I have anybody making comments? We still have 4 watching. Are you there? If you're watching, are you there? All right. I don't even see in my chat. Oh, okay. It said I'm trying to figure it all out. I don't even see who's watching. No matter. It will be, it will drop as a video on its own. I don't even know how long I've been going now. But the 2 that have liked my live stream here, I really appreciate that. Oh, I know what I can show you. I know. I'll have to leave actually I'll have to reach back here. And I'll just bring them over this way. I'm making sigils, and I'm in the learning phase, and it's been harsh because drawing on mirrors is fucking tricky, and drawing with paint pens is fucking tricky, and drawing with paint pens on glass is fucking tricky. It's crazy. And I've done some in daylight. I've learned that I have to do these in daylight because doing them at night with artificial light on mirrors is nearly impossible. And the ones that I thought I was doing such a great job of, when I looked at them in the light of day, they were just a mess. So these are pretty messy ones, but these are sigils from Solomon's Key. The 72, where's the book? Holy shit, man. All right. I don't even know where it went. I feel like it should be right in front of my face. The purple book. There it is. It was right in front of my face, but then I moved something and put it right on top of it. I'm going to do an unboxing video for this. This is a deck that's out of print, the Solomon Manual of Divination and Ritual Spells. With a deck. Those are the cards. Okay? So it comes from, what do they call them? The 72 spirits that are outlined in the Ars Goetia, or the Lesser Key of Solomon. So this is ceremonial magic. But these are all like demons. These are spirits. They each have their name. They each have their correspondences. You can use them in ritual. But I am making these for friends and family. And I love them. I love, so let me see if I can remember. Vapula. I believe Vapula is expertise. And then we have the first one I made was Buer, which is healing. You can see my overhead cam. So I'll put it over here a little bit. Buer. I had to do this one over again because I did it the first time. It was the first one I did. It was pretty sloppy. And I baked them. And idiot me, after I baked them, I thought, well, then I'll just clean them and see if they're permanent. And I took 91% alcohol and went schmear, and it took the ink right off even after it's baked. And it's like, this is 91% alcohol. It takes everything off. So I had to do this one again. And I went through a healing process in that because I got really pissed off at the pens. And, I was going to get on Amazon and complain and send them back. And then I looked at the pens and read everything again and went, no, you read this. It says water resistant. They're not even waterproof. And I had to check myself and then go through the healing process of drawing this one again. Let me see who else I can remember. This one is my favorite so far. This one is Bile. Bale. And it's invisibility. So what can you do with these? These are talismans. And they carry energies. The book has spells and rituals that you do. And I picked colors according to the candle colors that the book talked about when you're using it in ritual. This one is Phoenix, which you can't see because it's reflecting. Phoenix, which is harmony. How to make it look so hard. At any rate, the fact that they're on mirrors and that they, hey, there we go, and that they reflect, it's like you can reflect their energy onto something. So put something on top of it. A Forcus is divination. And Vapula, I did Foras. I don't remember what Foras is. Longevity, I think. Epos is courage. This is my favorite one so far. This one came out really nice. Epos. See my astrology books in the background there. That's my astrology shelf up there. I know I can't aim at it. There we go. Epos is courage. Cameo is intuition. Cameo. And what's this one? Renove. I don't remember what Renove is. Very cool looking. Wait a minute, I'll look it up real quick. And the book doesn't have them in alphabetical order, so I have to go to a particular folder here. Open. And of course I'm live streaming, so everything wants to go very slow. Okay, Renove is gain. So, anyhow, here, I'll let you look at Bale again. Oh, you can't see it any better that way. But yeah, very, very fun things. So maybe I'll do a live stream of like making these. If you guys want to hang out with me, would you be interested in something like that? Hanging out with me while I make sigils? Would be fun for me. So, hi everybody. Hi Susan. Hi Shailana. Yay, it's so nice to know somebody's there listening to me and I'm not shouting into the void. This is an extraordinary experience. And I'll tell you what, from the time I was a little kid, I have had this thing about connecting things. I used to be kind of obsessed when I was like 4 and 5 with tying things together. When I was, I think, 5, my mom had one of those big orange vases that stood up, kind of flamey at the top and everything's big glass vase. I mean, it must have been this tall, like 2 feet tall. And I took a jump rope and I tied it to a baton and I tied the other end to the vase. Why? Your guess is as good as mine, folks. I have no fucking clue. And my mom came into the living room and she looked at that and went, "What are you doing? Put those things away." So I straddled the baton and said, "Giddy up," and took off and smashed the vase everywhere. But the connecting thing, and then when I was in grade school, I remember, in the days before remote controls, before they even had like those boxy clickers, we had a little black and white TV. And I took this big long rope. It was like a team jump rope, long rope. And I remember tying one end to the channel control, which was a dial, click, 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 and sitting across the room on the couch and holding the other end and thinking, I'm connected to that thing way over there. And it just was thrilling. I got this thrill of I'm connected to something way, way over there. So imagine my thrill now. Imagine my thrill now when I can be sitting here talking live and knowing that I'm connected to you, like way the hell out there somewhere. If you want to tell me where you're from, that might increase my thrill if you're like from someplace way far away. But just the fact that I can be reaching out and connected to people far, far, far away that aren't in my physical space gives me such a deep thrill. I think that's the Neptune thing. I think that's the Neptune sun or maybe my Neptune moon trine. But the Neptune the dissolver dissolves boundaries. So it dissolves the separation between you and me. And what happens when that separation is dissolved? We're connected. So I think this kind of, wouldn't call it an obsession, but this strong interest in connection is a function of my Neptunian nature, with both my sun and moon being strongly affected by Neptune, one a square and one a trine. The square puts things, it brings up negative things or stressful, let's say stressful and challenging attributes. And so that's the low self-esteem, the dissolution of my vital energy as well. It's part of the thing. That Neptune also opposes Mars, which squares my sun, so there's a T-square. But the Neptune opposing my Mars, which rules and sits in my 6th house of physical health, that's the fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue. Neptune dissolves my energy, and your sun is also your vital energy, your core energy. And so Neptune dissolves that as well. And then the trine to my moon. A trine is a gift aspect. Trine talks about talents and freebies and things you're gifted with. So that's where my music and art comes from, is the moon trining Neptune, and moon ruled by Neptune as well, and also in a water house. And moon is in its own house of, Cancer's natural house, and Neptune is in Neptune's natural house. And so those are gifts I came in with, and part of my gift and my focus on connection is what helps me to do ritual. I want to connect with people in a spiritual way, and I want to help you connect with spirit, and I connect with spirit, with all that is. So, all of these things make it so doing these videos is just a special little yaya to me. It just makes me so very happy. So anyway, I think I'm going to bail out of here. I think it's been almost an hour, and I hope you found something entertaining here. If you're watched the live stream, or if you're watching this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. And please let me know what you'd like to hear about, what you would like me to talk about. I am going to, in addition to the unboxing videos of decks that are dropping now on Monday and Friday, I'm going to revisit the Art of Ritual series that I started like 6 years ago. And in the introductory video, and in each section, I know I have multiple places where I go, this will be its own video, and this will be its own video. Well, I'm going to start making those own videos, okay? And teaching you about the elements, teaching you about facets of ritual, and sharing my magical knowledge with you. Because let's face it, we're living in harsh times, folks. We're feeling powerless. It's very easy to feel powerless these days. It's very easy to sink into despair and to give up on trust and to give up on hope. But hope is the only thing left to you when it's all gone. And there's a concept called hope punk, which is hoping beyond hope, just continuing to hope when all hope seems to be gone. It's hope. It's a fucking punkest thing to do. So if I can give you some magical skills and give you a way to connect and express and work with the energies in your life and alter energies and generate energies and instigate change, initiate change and transformation in your own life, if I can give you anything there, some kind of hope and some kind of way to feel empowered in your life. I can't empower you because by its nature, empowerment is self-generated. But if I can give you anything that makes you feel your own empowerment, man, I'm there. I'm there. I'm down for it. I'm all in. So again, thank you so much for hanging out, and go on over to Facebook. Luna space Zenwitch is my page there. I don't really do a lot there now, but when videos drop here, I'll post them there. Make sure you click notifications so you can know when I'm live or dropping a new video. Um, and by all means, if you need a reading, tarot or astrology or both, PM me at Luna Zenwich with the space in between. And I'll get you hooked up for sure. Readings can be the most wonderful things. It's so funny because I'll have people say, I'd love to get a reading, but things are really hectic right now. That's the time to get a reading. When everything's going to shit, that's the time to get a reading. When you've come out of everything going to shit and you've got your shit together and you're like, wow, I feel like I've landed somewhere, that's the time to get a reading because that's all going to get validated. The time not to get a reading, I don't know if there is a time not to get a reading. Oh, yes, there is. The time not to get a reading is, I'm not sure what to wear tonight. I'm not sure what, or if you're thinking, I need to know what's going to happen. Nobody can tell you that. You decide your end of what's going to happen. The universe decides the rest. And you're not in control of that. You're in control of your end of it. And that's what magic is. Getting behind the driver's seat of your end of life. Pulling out the fucking map, which is your chart, by the way. And deciding on your destination and how you're going to get there. So that's your end of it. All right, I think I'm talked out. Is that even possible? I don't know. Anyway, happy Friday the 13th. Please don't go out with fear and trepidation in your mind. Go out with awareness, consciousness, and responsibility. If you're going out tonight to a Christmas party or something, don't be looking for bad luck. Here's another thing I wanted to say. Okay, I'm not done yet. Here's the hard thing about superstition. Here's one of the reasons I hate it so much. Because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because context is everything. When I do a reading, that's why, doing a general chart reading of here's the transits going on, it doesn't mean anything without a context. A tarot reading doesn't land without a place to land. It's just the cards. You are the one that brings the context and the story to the reading. Pardon me. You're the one that brings a context. You're the one that supplies meaning. I pull a particular card and just read the meaning. Two different people are going to hear it completely different ways because it's going to land in their context differently. Their context dictates what they're looking for. Here's the information I'm looking for. So whatever information I come out is going to spin that way for each particular person. The context that you bring in your head dictates your perception of a situation. If your context mentally is, the world is a horrible place, everybody's out to get me, I never win. That's your storyline. You're going to go through life looking for all the ways that's true. All the ways I never win. All the ways that I'm so very unlucky. And then it'll be validating. See? And what you're going to do at the same time is disregard all the ways in which you are in fact lucky, in which things do in fact go your way. So when you bring a context that says, this is the frame I'm looking through, this is what I'm going to focus on, this is what I'm going to notice, this is what I'm going to notice and be aware of. All right? So when you change the context to, here's, the world is a wonderful place. I'm looking for magic. That's my context. Where's the magic? I'm looking for magic. And it's not always my context. Believe me, I get down. I get in a bad frame of mind. And then it'll be like, oh, yeah, here it goes again. Everything goes wrong. And then I have to shift. When I catch myself in that place, I have to do something to shift that context and change my frame of mind. All right? Changing your frame of mind is magic. One of the only, accepted general definitions of magic is the art of changing consciousness at will. Changing your frame of mind. That's magic. Okay? So if you go out on Friday the 13th with the context of shit, this is unlucky. This is bad luck. This shit's going to happen. Guess what you're going to find? You're going to notice every way that could be interpreted as bad luck. So I invite you to go through the rest of this day with the context of magic, looking for the magic. This is a day doubly sacred to the goddess. One could say 13 times sacred to the goddess, or triply sacred to, let's call it triply. Because you got Friday that's sacred to the goddess, you got 13 that's sacred to the goddess, and you got them together. And that together is the third thing. So yay, we made it work. What do I say? A good witch can make anything work. Don't forget it. So go out looking for the ways that the goddess is manifesting on this Friday the 13th on the heels of a full moon. Go through life looking for the magic, looking for the goddess, looking for where she's showing her face to you, looking for where you connect with other human beings. Okay? No superstition. Kick that the fuck out of the way and change your frame of mind, and thus change your experience of life. That's the big magic, folks. All right? So again, all those things. I look forward to seeing you the next time, as always. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for validating my existence. You know, it's hard to be a priestess. There aren't many jobs open. I have to create my own context there. And you guys help me do that, and you validate me. So I am sending you blessings. I am grateful for that. Grateful for you being there so that I can be who I am and do what I do. Peace. I love you all. I will see you next time. This is the Zen Witch.